Can this pine floor successfully be restored as well as economically be restored? Let's have a look at this picture. So Rob sent this as this floor. You can see the floor there, and what you notice, and you can see it in this area, this has been covered over and it has been patched up. You can see these splotches of what looks to be some concrete of some sort has gone all over the floor. And there's also that black ring around the edge, which years ago they would have painted around the edge and have had a carpet in the middle. And then if we scroll down, you can see more of that. And more importantly, I've created this small picture over here. You can see that massive gap there. And then you can also see the end of the board that has been really battered with screws and nails and all that. And even if we sand this floor, you're never going to get a good result from that. So it is a big problem in this case, and here's why. Here's why it's a big problem. The plaster and the cement that we see on that floor have got quite a lot of alkaline in it. There's so many chemicals in a cement mixture. I mean, if you take a cement mixture and you stick your hand in and you leave it too long, you can have chemical burns on your hand. Now imagine that happens on your floor. Now what would happen is that spills on the floor, and it can happen if people plaster the wall as well. As you plaster the wall, that falls down, the plasterer goes and clean that floor up, and the floor sander comes around, look at it, doesn't see anything, and go ahead and sand the floor. What would then happen is we will go ahead and oil the floor or lacquer the floor, and immediately there's a chemical reaction because some of that chemicals in the cement or the plaster soaked into the wood, and now it reacts with the finish and dressing on the floor. That was not visible before because the plasterer cleaned it up. Now in this case we can clearly see from those photos that there is clearly those cement patches on there, and when we sand that floor you will likely find that there's going to be blotches all over the floor where those cement patches has been. And then Rob would think, well, now I've spent money on a floor, and you know, it's not the price of a new floor, but it's not far off, and this floor looks absolutely horrible. And then in addition, if we then look at, let's go back to that, let's look at the gaps here. I want to show you the gaps. You see those big gaps there, and you see the holes here. Now, of course, somebody might say, well, you can just lift that board out and lay a new one in. Yes, you can do that, but it is not guaranteed that the color would match. And that is also a problem because now you have blotchiness on the floor, you've got a plank that don't look the same, and by the time you spend a good £65 a square meter, £75 a square meter for all this extensive work to repair the floor, resand it, fill the gaps, do all these things, and then the finish goes on, you now have patches on the floor. And I just feel as a business owner, you know what, I don't want to take somebody's money and look at the floor myself and think, goodness me, that looks horrendous. I'd rather lose a job and let somebody go and find a new floor and place that in. And then they are happy, even though sadly it hurts because now they have to spend a bit more than they thought. Now the benefit with us is we can advise on new flooring because we also have a flooring division that supplies and installs flooring. So we can always advise you accordingly, and you know, we just rather lose out on sanding a floor and have a happy customer than to think we can fix it and then it doesn't look right. So my advice on this to anybody that has got a floor like that is go ahead and consider the cost of a new floor versus the cost of a restoration of a floor and the price you'll pay for having that. In Rob's case, we know that Rob will probably pay in the region of about £65 to £75 a square meter to have this floor restored. We know that there's gaps on the floor, the color of the boards that we'll lay in will look different, and we also know there's a likely chance that the patchiness on the floor would appear because of those blotches of the cement and plaster. Now, if you compare that to a new floor, Rob would probably pay in the region of £100 to £120 for an engineered floor to be installed in there. And then you consider, well, you know what, for an extra £30 to £40 per meter, he can have a beautiful oak floor that can be sanded 2 times again after it's been installed, and it looks absolutely perfect. So there is those things to consider, and I would say call us if you have any questions.